Good afternoon, this is Bob Iaccino coming to you from the CME Group's trading floor in Chicago. Talking metals, talk about copper as the 0.81% move higher that we got in copper today was very significant. Again, up over 0.75% in a broad rally, and all things that rally were really pointing to economic strength. That was sort of the theme that we saw, from the Hang Seng rallying overnight to the U.S. equity markets rallying earlier in the day to all the metals from gold, silver, copper, as I just mentioned, palladium, all rallying, and even the Treasury yields rallied a little bit, moved out a little bit before they came back a little bit later in the day. And the stock 600, the European stock market, rallied. So everything was rallying as if there was some sort of settlement on the trade issues between the U.S. and China, but it seemed more like a couple of things were at play here. Number one, there were no negative headlines, so the underlying strength of the global economy kind of came through in commodities as well. But also Chinese reserves, which was the only real China data that we got last night. The FX reserves came in strong, 5.8 billion increase to a total of 3.1 trillion for the month of July. And that's an improvement from June's 1.51 billion addition to the FX reserves. So what does that mean? That means that despite the tariffs that went into effect that would hit the month of July, China still had trade, and their trade continued to grow. So that's a sort of a positive sign, and China being the biggest consumer of copper, copper is one of the places that it made that effect, going up to about 275.35 on the futures contract today, with a high of 276.7 and a low of about 272.25. So again, good performance in copper. And then lastly, the dollar was weaker. The US dollar was weaker, adding to sort of the commodity bid in general. Crude oil was also up. I failed to mention that earlier in my string of things that were included in the broad rally. The dollar weakness certainly didn't put anything in the way of the commodity rally we saw. Copper was one of the contracts taking the biggest advantage of that. This is Bob Iaccino talking about a strong copper contract from the CME Group trading floor in Chicago.